Hey guys, welcome back to A Page in a Chapter, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Paige and it is time for another magical Hopathon reading vlog. I think is gonna be the final magical Hopathon reading vlog. We are tackling Magic Kingdom this week and I need to be speedy this week. I'm starting this vlog off on a Sunday rather than a Monday because whilst I've doubled up prompts for this park, one of the books is 700 pages long and I can only read it of an evening, so we need to get a move on. I am still going to start with the attraction like I always do. Odd Habits Die Hard, or Odd Habits Die Screaming, I guess. And I will be reading Lore of the Wilds for the Big Thunder Mountain attraction, which is to read the wildest book in the wilderness, which Lore of the Wilds very much fits that. And Big Thunder Mountain is quite possibly my favourite ride at Disneyland Paris, so I very much wanted to bring that into this park and make sure I read for that prompt. So this is I think it's a Fae Romantasy. It was in the Fairy Loot Romantasy box and I've been meaning to get to this for quite some time and just really haven't gotten around to it. And I think it's because the universe knew that this was the perfect book for this prompt. This is a romantasy. I think it's kind of quest based, forest based, very like Fae in an enchanted forest kind of vibe, and I think that will hit. I think I will enjoy this and I'm looking forward to giving it a go. And then after this we are moving on to a contemporary sports romance, but I'll talk more about that when we get there. It's gonna be a pretty chilled out week, to be honest. We are just gonna be reading for this. I don't have any huge plans this week. I'm excited because both of the books that we have for this park are on my physical TBR, so I can still kind of be working to chip away at my physical TBR, which is something that I really want to start to prioritize this year, especially if you guys have seen my mid-year check-in / goals for the end of the year video, then you'll already know this. So yeah, I hope you guys are looking forward to this video. I know that I really am. I am going to be really sad when this month ends and the magical Hopathon ends, but at the same time I am really looking forward to getting to some books that I'm now really in the mood for but aren't on my magical Hopathon TBR. I could have swapped them around, I know, but I really wanted to stick to my TBR. I felt like it was a really good opportunity to get to some books that I haven't had a chance to yet, so I decided to stick with it. But I am quite looking forward to mood reading a little bit once this is done, and I'm definitely going to take the time to mood read after this readathon ends. But yeah, let's get on into the vlog, let's get on into the reading. I'll see you guys when I have an update. So I haven't really read anything of Lore of the Wilds. I think I'm 3 pages in. I said I would do some reading yesterday. I just lay on the sofa and watched the Eras Tour and cried for the entire afternoon, and then I started My Lady Jane in the evening and I didn't do a single, not even a tiniest little bit of reading yesterday, even though I said that I really needed to get a move on, but I didn't do it. So I haven't done any reading today either, other than the 3 pages that I managed to get read on my lunch break. But all of that is about to change because Rachel is about to host reading sprints, so it's fine. We are going to be able to get some reading done this evening, and I'll catch up with you when I have an update on Lore of the Wilds. We are very much into the sprints now, and I have made it 140 pages into Lore of the Wilds, and I'm not vibing with this. This is the first book this readathon that I've wanted to DNF. It's just kind of boring. We follow Lore. I have a hair that's just rogue. We follow Lore and she is a human living in a very deprived world where the Fae are kind of keeping the humans deprived, keeping the humans imprisoned in this very deprived area. And we follow Lore as she's taken to the Fae Palace and told to organize this library that only she as a human can enter, and they are looking for this magical book in this very huge, expansive, messy library, and it is Lore's job to categorize and organize everything, and she's basically the librarian for this library, and we follow her as she is growing closer with the Fae soldier assigned to keep her in line if they end up forming a friendship. I just don't really care. I'm supposed to be in the meaty chunk. I'm in the middle of this book now. I feel like I'm supposed to really be rooting for their relationship, really caring about what Lore is doing with this book, and I just don't. Wow, I'm doing a really good job of this right now. I feel like a lot of emphasis in this book went into setting, and there are some stunning settings in this book, but not a lot seems to have gone into development. And like, this is supposed to be a romantasy book, but it's not romantasying. It feels more like a YA fantasy that has a romance subplot, but obviously it's romantasy, so there's going to be some spice thrown in at some point, but it just doesn't feel, you know, like I don't feel any yearning, I don't feel on edge, I don't feel like there's been some like heat between our characters. There's not been any like moments of near kisses or like I haven't felt a spark between them. There's been no like hatred or like there's just been no heat. Like they're just fine with each other. That's exactly like their relationship is just fine. It's amicable. There's nothing there, and it's really kind of getting to me. And then we're like starting to get to like a point in the plot now where like stuff's happening, so maybe I'll start to like that a bit more. But we spend so much time in this library only for Law to then leave the library, and now we're going back home. Like, I just don't care. It doesn't feel like there's much here, and I really want to DNF it, but I don't have any other ideas for wildest book in the wilderness. And I'm halfway through it, and I've read half of it in one evening, so I think I'll be able to kind of speed read this and not get too behind on the week if I just finish it. But this is honestly feeling like a 2-star read because it just doesn't feel developed enough at all. I think there needs to be a little bit more tension kept in the relationship, like, or even, not even kept, just inserted into the relationship. Just some kind of something between them that makes me excited about the fact that they're gonna get together, and I'm just not feeling that because it just feels so platonic between them. And then the magic system really hasn't been explained at all. I think it's because Law herself doesn't understand it, so I don't know if I'm just judging it on this too early, but it feels like I've read 140 pages and I don't know anything more about the Fae, this world, or the magic system than I did 140 pages ago. I read a lot of words and I didn't really get anything from those words. I'm a little bit frustrated. I'm really hoping that this turns itself around, or there's some element that I end up really liking about this, that there's some kind of world building or relationship development that really pulls me in here, because right now it's feeling like it's not done the romance very well or the fantasy very well, and I'm very disappointed by this book right now. I'm gonna keep reading for a little while longer and then kind of do one final little wrap up to see how much I read today and if it's getting any better, but I imagine I'll be finishing this book tomorrow, to be honest with you, because I'm starting to slump a little bit. I literally like just updated you guys pretty much, but it's 8:30. I'm really not in the mood to read anymore. I've come in here to prep the veg for dinner. Jack always cooks, but I always wait for him and we eat together, and I'm just gonna prep the veg so that he can come in and we can kind of cook, get it started straight away, and there's no prep time. But I am just really not feeling Law of the Wilds. And I don't really have anything to update you on because I just updated you on how I'm feeling about it, but I'm gonna stop at the 150 page mark and kind of just call it a day there. 150 pages is fantastic progress for one day, one evening really, and it means that we're just doing half and half basically, and I can go into tomorrow and just read the other half of it tomorrow. My camera is flashing at me, I haven't charged it, but I will see you guys in the morning to update you again on how I'm finding this book. But right now it's not looking positive. So I finished Law of the Wilds last night and I gave it 1 star. I hate giving debut authors 1 star, but I really didn't think there was anything redeemable about this story at all. I wouldn't even deem this a romantasy, to be honest with you. This was very clearly a YA novel that they slapped one ever so slightly spicy scene in it. It's not sex spicy scene, it's just like a little something something spicy scene. There is one well over 150 pages in and that's it, and it very much just feels like this is a YA novel, but they felt it would be easier to market and probably get more readers as a new adult romantasy novel, so they slapped this one scene in and did not change anything else about it. Relationships and connections that our main character forms feel very childish, and not even childish, but they just don't feel like what you would expect in a romantasy. They feel more like the types of relationships that you read in young adult, like kind of surface level, kind of like childish. The characters all read very childish. Like literally, if you had taken that one scene out, I would have so firmly believed that this was a YA novel, and then I would have been able to kind of forgive it a little bit more. I would have been able to see like the whimsy and like surface level connections and things like that in it, because I do that with like Once Upon a Broken Heart series, for example. I know that those are supposed to be young adult novels and they're not supposed to have the seriousness of an adult fantasy or an adult romantasy, and I can appreciate that for what they are. But when this has a very short and unsatisfying spicy scene very late on into the book with a character that we actually barely see for a lot of this book, I just didn't vibe with it. And honestly, this was so predictable, which I can so forgive predictability in books, particularly romantasy. I do feel like they all have the same kind of themes and tropes and twists, and if I'm enjoying a book, I can so easily forgive that. But because I already wasn't enjoying this, I was so bored throughout the entirety of this book because it just didn't have anything to keep me interested in it particularly. It was very, let's just move from location to location, and there was nothing to make me care about any of the characters or anything that happened to them. So I can't forgive the predictability of this book in this case, because it was already just so boring. So I do hate giving debut authors 1 star. It's a debut and it's definitely worth trying. It's definitely like worth seeing what else an author can write in the future after their debut. And also, like, I always have this thing with 1 star when I give 1 stars of like, who am I to give a 1 star, because could I do any better? But also, I'm a reader and I rate based on my opinions of books, and my opinion is that this book is 1 star, and it felt like a 1 star for me, so that's what I'm giving it. I am very eager now to start the next book of Magic Kingdom, which is Pucking Around, because I just very much feel like I want a contemporary sports romance palette cleanser. I have been waiting until I am like in the mood to read this 700-page hockey romance novel, and I still don't know for sure that I'm in the mood for 700 pages, but I am very much intrigued, and I'm the most in the mood for this book that I've ever been. I would actually really like to start it now, but we are doubling up on prompts for Pucking Around. So I am reading this for Happily Ever After, which is to read a book at night, and Cinnamon Bun, a book over 400 pages. So I cannot read this right now. I'm on my lunch break. It is 2:30, but I have to wait till after work to start this book and occupy myself in the meantime. I definitely think I've made things a lot harder for myself by pairing only read a book at night with a book over 300 pages. Like, I haven't made this easy, but it's fine because we have slightly longer to get this read, because we have a week until the end of July now. I'm filming this on the 24th of July, so I don't have to only read this until Sunday and then start a new park on Monday. I have until Wednesday to get this book read to complete my entire Magical Hopathon TBR. So we're doing well. I'm very excited to go into this book, and I can't have Magic Kingdom let me down this hard, and I really can't have like another 1 star book. So I'm really hoping Pucking Around is like somewhat decent, is at least fun. Like 700 pages are gonna fly by if this is at least fun, and I might see if I can get it on my Kindle, because I'll probably read it faster on my Kindle. And I have also heard from people who have read this book that if you ignore the fact that it's 700 pages and don't let yourself be intimidated by that, this book is actually a pretty decent book. So I'm excited about it, and I'll catch up with you guys after work so we can finally start this book. It is 6 o'clock, so I am going into this behemoth. Everybody fingers crossed that this is a good time. Good morning, guys. It is a coffee morning today, and for context on that, I came down to fill my water bottle and I poured milk in it. I conflated the two tasks that I had to do this morning of making a coffee and refilling my water bottle, and I just poured the milk straight into my water bottle. So that was fun. I am feeling extremely groggy, and it's just not the vibe. I look groggy, I feel groggy. It feels like a Wednesday instead of a Thursday. I'm about 100 pages into Pucking Around. That sound you can hear is my milk frother. Please just ignore that. Yeah, I'm about 100 pages into Pucking Around, and this is entirely my fault, but I did not know what this book was. I knew it had 3 love interests, but I didn't know it was a why choose. Like, I just thought there were 3 love interests and that's why it was so long. Like, it would be about her building connections with all of them and then falling in love with like one more maybe, or like choosing, or some kind of character development that led to a choice, you know. But I didn't realize it was there's 3 love interests. So yeah, this is a why choose novel. There'll be scenes with all of them at the same time. I don't know if this is really gonna be for me. I had to Google some of the like content warnings. Jack was really making fun of me last night because I very naively thought that snowballing, which was listed on the content warnings, I was like, oh, it's an ice hockey romance, maybe they just do it on the ice. That's not what snowballing is. I'm not gonna tell you, you have to Urban Dictionary it like I had to do last night, but I'm not sure I can handle this book. But I do have to say, it is actually very well written and it's fairly easy to read as well. I'm just not sure I particularly like any of the characters. The dedication is literally like, if you think that this book would be better without this character, then, you know, blah blah blah. But I have to say, I do think this book would be better without that character. I've already mentioned there's 3 love interests. There's the goalkeeper, there's a defenseman, and then there's the defenseman's best friend. She lives next door to the best friend and she's previously hooked up with the defenseman, and they're forming like a little trio already. Like, there's very close connections like forming between these people. And then there's just the goalkeeper, like he's just there, and it just doesn't feel like he's particularly entrenched into the story. Like it feels like a bit of a throw-in, and I'm obviously only 100 pages into what is a 700-page book, so there is plenty of time, but I'm not vibing with it. And I also think he's kind of a weird dude, and I feel like she should run for the hills from this goalkeeper guy. But yeah, it's actually, like, considering it's 700 pages, I was expecting bad storytelling and kind of bad writing, but it's actually not. I'm pleasantly surprised by how this reads, and despite the fact that the font is also tiny, it is surprisingly easy to like fly through it. So I'm not DNFing it, but I'm really not sure that this book is gonna be my kind of thing. But it's important to read other things, so I guess we'll just go out of my comfort zone once again, and we will see how this goes. It is morning, so I can't read this until after work today, which is almost nice to like have my morning and my lunch break be free of reading. That doesn't normally happen, but it is a nice little break this month because it's been very like go for like to get all of these books read this month. So yeah, I got a little bit of a break whilst we read this, so I guess I'll catch up with you guys this evening when we can actually read again. Good morning, guys. It's been a little while since I picked up the vlog camera, but I am now 320 pages into Pucking Around. But I do have to say that I'm gonna be switching some things around because it is a lovely Saturday today and all I want to do is read. So I am just going to be reading this for my snack prompt, which is to read a book over 300 pages, and then I will find something shorter maybe to read in the evenings to try to complete the last prompt. But honestly, if I just complete 2, then that will just have to be that, because this book has massively slowed me down. I'm kind of enjoying it. Like, I think it's a good book. It's on the trashier side. Like, if you want to read something that's just going to give you a bit of a giggle because it's a little cheesy and some of the lines are kind of so bad they're funny kind of vibes, then like I'm having a good time in that sense. I do have to say it's a sexy book. I don't know, like I think it's well written. I think the scenes are actually very sexy. I just don't like the actual like romance in this book. Like, I don't like any of the male interests. I think they're all red flags. I think they're not communicating well enough for the situation that they're in, and I feel like there might be some consent issues here, like, because this is a why choose. Our main character is sleeping with them together and separately. She didn't really check with the other people involved before she started sleeping with this one guy individually, and I was like, I don't know if I'm reading a cheating scene here. Like, I know technically it's not, but you haven't discussed whether you can sleep with them individually or if it's just gonna be a threesome kind of thing, and I felt a little funny about the lack of communication there. I also, like, if you don't like main characters that are not like other girls and are major pick-me vibes and every single guy falls madly in love with her, then you're probably not gonna like this book, because the not like other girls-ness of this main character is it's there, and like she even like talks about the fact that she's not like other girls either, and like she's not like a puck bunny, and she's not like the girls that they've previously slept with or shared. Like, you know, she's a doctor and she has tattoos and she has a piercing. Like, that is very much what is going on in this book, and I appreciate that because it's why choose, like, multiple guys on this team are going to fall in love with her because it's a why choose. But that's not what I mean by every single guy falls in love with her. I mean every guy on the team wants her. They all talk about how attractive she is. They call her hot doc. They have group chats, like sharing pictures of her in bikinis and just obsessing over how attractive she is. And some of these guys are supposed to be married. Every single man that is ever mentioned in this book is only mentioned because they either want to sleep with you and are a love interest, or they're mentioned only talking about how hot the main character is and how much they want her. And I'm like, I appreciate that there's 3 love interests and it's a why choose, but not every single possible character has to find this woman attractive and want to sleep with her. So if you don't like those vibes, you're probably not gonna like this book, but generally speaking, it is very light-hearted, very fun, very sexy, very well written. Like, I'm having a good time with it. I have not managed to read 350 pages of a bad book. Like, I would have given up on this by now, knowing how long it is, but I didn't even really notice the page count going. Like, it's just very quick, surprisingly, to get through. I'm still not sure it needs to be 700 pages because there's not a lot of plot. It's just mostly sex at this point in like the main meat of the book, but we'll see. I think I'm still gonna stand by the fact that a hockey romance, even if it does have 3 love interests that it needs to build connections with, does not need to be 700 pages, because this book is not spending its 700 pages doing relationship development or building the relationships between these guys. So it doesn't need to be this long, but I'm going to be reading this afternoon because I just really want to do some reading today. It is finally some sunny, bright weather. I don't want to start a new book just to read today. Like, if I'm going to be separating out the prompts, I would rather read the big 700-page book during the day and pick another book to read only in the evenings. Yeah, I will catch up with you guys when I have an update on this book for you. It took work, but I did finish packing around, and the answer to the question on everyone's mind of did this need to be 700 pages long is no, it did not. So I would actually give this like 2.5 to 3 stars, honestly potentially even 3 stars. I think this is a really good representation of polyamory. I think it's really important to represent polyamory in books, and other than like a slight lack of communication, I think this does represent polyamory quite well. And it's important to note that every single character in this book is learning polyamory for the first time too, so I guess it's accurate to represent some lack of communication. Like, you can't be perfect the whole time round. And this book doesn't really have any plot. It's more of a kind of character study slash relationship study of just watching these 3 men fall in love with Rachel, and in one situation 2 of the men falling in love with each other. I think it's a very complicated and nuanced story, and I think maybe that's why it possibly needs 700 pages. But my critique of this book is that we don't see any relationship development outside of sex. So if you are not someone who wants a lot of spice in your books, then this is not the book for you. Every single chapter pretty much has some level of spice to it. There is seriously one point in this book where it is just page after page after page of sex, just constantly. I don't know if that was necessary really. Like, it very much reads as erotica, but you've gotten to know the characters. Like, that's kind of what's going on here. And there's a tiny bit of setting the scene at the beginning and then a tiny bit of kind of wrapping things up at the end, and the whole mid like 500 pages is just spice. And I don't think that was necessary. I think this book could have been told in a shorter way, and to be honest, the length wasn't even really the problem here, because I actually read this fairly quickly for 700 pages. It didn't feel like I was reading 700 pages. It was very easy to get through. So I guess the length necessarily was not the issue. I think I would have just preferred if those 700 pages, at least some of them, were used showing some form of relationship development outside of sex. Like, we know that all of these characters live together, so why couldn't we have just gotten some like nice moments? Maybe a date, some individual dates, some group dates, like just show me some form of development other than the fact that they have great sex, and this would have been like a higher rating than 2.5 to 3 stars. But all in all, I had no reason to be scared of it. I definitely didn't need to be intimidated by the size of it, because it read very easily and was not a slog to read at all. And so like that really wraps up another week of reading for the Magical Hopathon. I am continuing into next week because we still have a couple more days of the Magical Hopathon, and even though this was the last book I planned for, I do have another book that I now need to pick for Happily Ever After, I think, which is to read a book only of an evening, because I just couldn't do this. I really wanted to read, but if I pick a shorter book, then I definitely think it will be possible to read a book within the next 3 days. I have done that before, and we are still kind of on track to finishing this readathon, completing a prompt for each section in every park, and I am very happy with the progress that we've made, and frankly just very happy that this is off my TBR now, because that was really weighing on my mind. So this week we read Lore of the Wilds and Pucking Around. Honestly, kind of a change in vibes between these two, like they're not that similar. I really wanted to like Lore of the Wilds, but it was unfortunately a 1 star, and I don't love giving debuts 1 star. I don't really like giving anything 1 star, but unfortunately that's just how this felt to me, because it really felt like not even like a good YA, but it was just a YA that they've tried to sell as a romantasy, and it's not a romantasy. It doesn't have anything about it that makes a romantasy to me. Like, there was just no real heat in the relationship at all. For me, a romantasy the sex needs to be like a very important element of the plot, and like the dynamic of the characters. It can't just be like a background thing, you know? And then this was kind of the opposite problem. This was too spicy. I mean, it wasn't too spicy. Definitely look into content warnings for this, because there's a lot of them. This is a very intense romance novel. This is not a necessarily romantic novel. This is spice on spice on spice. Like, my main criticism of this book is that I wish there had been slightly less spice, because I think there wasn't enough relationship development outside of the sex. So kind of very opposite reactions to these books, but all in all, a successful week. I obviously changed around like some prompts, so I was supposed to finish the readathon, but I just didn't think I was gonna get Pucking Around finished if I was only reading it of an evening, and to be honest, I just didn't want to. Like, I just didn't like that I was restricted to only reading of an evening over the weekend. So the first part of next week's vlog will be finishing off this readathon, and then kind of figuring out what on earth we do after this readathon ends. Like, what on earth do I read? I don't know. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, then please feel free to hit that big red subscribe button down below and stay tuned for future content. I upload every single Wednesday and every single Sunday. Sunday is normally the vlog day, and I vlog my reading every single week, so you guys won't miss out on anything like that. So yeah, I hope you guys are having a fantastic week. You're enjoying everything you are reading, and there are no reading slumps in your future, and I'll see you for my next video. Bye guys.